And we are back with another episode of the Car and Bike podcast. Us two motorheads, Preetham and myself, King Shuk. We are back with a brand new episode, and today's episode is going to be really interesting, exciting, and insightful. But before that, if you like our automotive content, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And now, please leave a comment as well so that we can come back with much better content than what we're doing. Your feedback is very important to us.
Right. So Preetham, the first week of July was like super exciting for all motorcycling fans in India. First, we had the Harley-Davidson X 440 launch. Then I had the opportunity to ride the motorcycle briefly at Hero's CIT in Jaipur, but all hell sort of broke loose when Triumph Motorcycles announced the pricing for the Speed 400. So Preetham, you were there, and I'm sure you could, hear the sound of jaws collectively dropping. What was it like?
Well, very important month indeed. Two made in India motorcycles of two iconic brands, the Harley-Davidson X 440 made in India by Hero MotoCorp,
right,
and the Triumph Speed 400 made in India by Bajaj Auto. Now, before the launch, we were all discussing what would be the expected pricing, looking at the pictures of the bike since it was unveiled late in June in the UK, and the kind of kit it gets, the kind of fit and finish, traction control system, switchable traction control system,
right,
dual channel ABS, looks amazing, and it looks like a very well built, properly finished product. So, in our book, 2.8 lakh, 2.9 lakh. X showroom for the Speed 400 seemed to be a logical and reasonable
right,
enough price.
Yes.
But when prices were announced, all of us in that room at Akudi and Bajaj headquarters, we were just flabbergasted, and it was evident across the whole floor. Everybody was like, "What?" Because Triumph did a solid one, 2,33,000 X showroom was the price, and then John Bloor, the founder, the owner of Triumph Motorcycles since 1990, the person who revived the Triumph brand again in 1990 and till today, he gave a video message that that's not only it. The first 10,000 customers can buy it for 2,23,000 X showroom. That's a good 60,000-70,000 off from any of our estimates. I mean, the best of us were expecting 2.8, 2.9, and if it was as good as the price, then we all thought, we were riding the bike the next day, then it could have been something totally different. We'll talk about the riding experience in a bit.
Yes.
But Harley just a few days, one day in fact before, right?
Right. Just a couple of days before Triumph, yes.
And the Harley was also quite nicely priced, isn't it? It was very attractively priced.
So prices started at 2,29,000 rupees and went up to 2,69,000 rupees.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us believed that Harley-Davidson did a great job with the pricing. But just a couple of days later, everything was overshadowed by the Triumph Bajaj alliance. So Preetham, why do you think they were able to price the Speed 400 so aggressively?
Well, because primarily, as Rajiv Bajaj pointed out, economies of scale, because these will be made in volumes. The bikes will be made in volumes, and India is going to be the first center where these bikes will be mass produced for Triumph. And from what we know, the Speed 400 and the soon to be launched Scrambler 400X, these will be primarily targeted at the world's largest motorcycle market, that's India.
Right.
So the volumes, as you know, Royal Enfield sells in the range of about 60 to 70,000 motorcycles in the 350cc segment every single month, and that's close to 7.5 lakh
almost
bikes a year.
7 to 7.5
7.5 lakhs. Even if Triumph was to get a slice of the pie, the same story is with Harley-Davidson as well. They also is targeting that same slice of the pie in that segment, because over the past decade, maybe since Royal Enfield introduced the UC, the unit construction engine, particularly with the classic 350, which sort of revolutionized the way people started looking at the Royal Enfield. First, it was the switch to the left-hand side gear shift to make it universally appealing, easy to ride, and then the UC, the unit construction engine with an integrated gearbox, made the Royal Enfields more efficient, more durable, more reliable. So breakdowns, oil leaks, which used to be hallmarks of trademarks of Royal Enfields in the past, during the cast iron and even the AVL era, were soon replaced by this brand new unit construction engine, and reliability, decent fuel economy and ease of riding made the classic 350 the hot favorite. And over the past 10 years, Royal Enfield has been sitting snugly on that segment,
Perch.
top of the
Yes,
segment.
absolutely.
Absolutely on the perch. Some months Royal Enfield sells about 80,000 odd bikes every month. Some months, good on a good month, it's 80,000 plus.
Yeah.
So that's a huge number of bikes. From late 90s, when Royal Enfield is selling what 2,500 bikes a year to 80,000 bikes a month, that's
Right.
a huge jump. And this is exactly the segment that both Harley-Davidson, in partnership with Hero MotoCorp now, because those X440s are made here, collaboration, right?
Yes, it
Hero
is
and
a-
Harley both have
yes.
done their R&D and
Right.
technical development at Hero's R&D center in Germany, and of
Correct.
course at CIT, which is the Center of Innovation and Technology in Jaipur. Hero's got two tech centers, one in Germany, one here in Jaipur. And so there's a lot of back and forth, and with inputs from Harley's engineers, of course, and the result is at X440. And but Triumph again undercut the Harley-Davidson X440 with that price, 2,33,000 X showroom. As we speak, 10,000 bookings have already been
Yes,
done and
that's true.
over with. So, but it's a combined booking between the Scrambler and the Speed 400.
400, yeah.
Triumph and Bajaj haven't given us the breakup of those bookings, but I'm sure by now, by the time you watch this, those 10,000 first bookings for the Speed 400, where you could have bought it for 2,23,000 X showroom, would have been long gone, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the assumption,
Yeah.
and I think that's what the Triumph Bajaj Alliance is playing at. Because I mean, the kind of pricing that the Speed 400 carries, even at 2,33,000 rupees, I mean, it was beyond the wildest imagination that either of us could have made up. I mean, insane. I mean, for the first time in a very long time, I think the entire automotive fraternity was surprised to such an extent with such aggressive pricing. And of course, I mean, that also shows the intent of the Triumph Bajaj partnership. I mean, they are here to take over. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. So, Kingshuk, so the Harley-Davidson X440, the Triumph Speed 400, both 400, 440 cc
Right.
engines,
Right.
slightly above Royal Enfield in terms of displacement really. But where do these bikes fall in the scheme of things? Which bikes do they go up against in terms of competition?
So the primary rivalry will be between the Harley and the Triumph. That's what all of us believe. But the biggest, the king of the segment is the Royal Enfield Classic 350. You will be surprised to know that the difference between the pricing of the Speed 400 and the Classic 350 at 2,33,000 rupees is merely by say less than 10,000 rupees
On the top spec variant.
on the top spec variant of the Classic 350. So that's crazy. I mean, for the kind of money that you're paying and the kind of kit and quality that you're getting with the Triumph Speed 400, it's unimaginable. And other motorcycles in the same segment, playing in the same segment, you have the 350 cc series from Royal Enfield, the Meteor 350, the Hunter 350. Of course, the Hunter is much cheaper and much more affordable than the Harley and the Triumph. You have the Meteor 350, you have the 350cc range from Honda's, the CB350 Highness and the CB350 RS. Apart from that, you have the Naked in the BMW G310R and the KTM 390 Duke. And of course, I mean, this is something that struck me. The Bajaj Domina 400 is priced at 2,29,000 rupees, and the Speed 400 is priced at 2,33,000 rupees. So in a way, Bajaj is also eating into the market share of its own product. It's just amazing. I mean, it takes some time to wrap your head around the pricing. I mean, it's so significantly important for both these brands, and Bajaj is willing to take that gamble on.
Even the
because-
KTM 390 Duke,
Yes.
KTM's parent company Bajaj owns significant stakes. So Bajaj, the KTM brand is part owned by Bajaj, so to
True.
say. Even the 390 Duke will feel some heat from possibly from the Speed 400 and the Scrambler 400X. isn't it?
Yes, that's true.
So yeah, the whole really range of motorcycles that the Harley-Davidson X440 and the Speed 400 Triumph Speed 400 goes up against, from the KTM 390 Duke, the Bajaj Domina
Right.
400, the Yezdis, the entire Yezdi range, and of course the Royal Enfield 350s.
Yes.
Now when how does this affect Royal Enfield? You know, like when Royal Enfield launched the J series engine, the new 350cc engine, a couple of years ago, with the Meteor 350. It was the first product, and then the Classic 350 came, and then the Hunter 350, all based on the same J series engine. And the J series engine, we were quite impressed with it. I think these bikes won a fair few awards, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And this engine has completely changed the way people started looking at Royal Enfields, because the refinement levels have gone up. The engine feels robust and rides very well.
Right.
But with what? How is the Harley-Davidson X440? Of course, Kingshuk rode it. I haven't yet ridden the X440. I'm looking forward to riding it. You rode it at the CIT, inside the track, right? Not out in the real world.
No, it was a controlled environment for sure. But before we discuss the riding, I were on the topic of, how does this affect Royal Enfield, the launch of these two motorcycles. Now, the thing is that for the past few years, it was difficult to imagine challenging Royal Enfield in its own segment, the 350 to 650cc segment, because they've been doing so well, bringing out quality products, right? But the game has turned on its head. And how? Because you never imagined that Royal Enfield will be challenged in the same segment by Harley-Davidson and Triumph. That's a big thing. I mean, if that is not growth, I don't know what else is. And I think for the coming models of Royal Enfield, we have the Himalayan 450, the Bullet 350. There is also rumors of a Scram 440. Yes, there's also rumors of a Scram 440, which will be a bored out version of the current Scram 411. And from what the rumors say, of course, it's not on paper, it's not confirmed yet, that the Scram 411 will be phased out and the 440 will be here to stay, taking on the Speed 400X. I mean, that's the...
Okay, so the Scram, the next generation Scram won't be platform sharing with the 450 Himalayan?
Again, so there will be a Scram 450, there will be a Scram 440, and currently we have the Scram 411. So it's very confusing. So that's what I was trying to say, that Royal Enfield has to go back to the drawing board and figure out a few things in terms of pricing for its new models, because the pricing for the Speed 400, and going by what Triumph announced for the Speed 400, even the Scrambler 400X, I think it's going to be priced at around what? Best estimate would be around 2.5 to 2.6 lakh rupees ex showroom.
Correct.
On road could be around 3 lakh to 3 lakh 10,000.
Yeah,
that's our
very
estimate.
Competitive pricing. I have a slightly different view on how this whole, this whole segment is going to affect Royal Enfield. Yes, it's going to affect Royal Enfield, no doubt, with this new models coming in, but bottom line is competition is good for the Indian motorcyclists, for people like you and me, and for whoever's watching, because you have a lot of options to play with, a lot of options to choose from, and each having its own pros and cons than the other. So before you decide to go ahead and put your money down for a product, we always suggest, you go and ride the bike, look which bike works for you best, because they're all good bikes. There's no bad bike in that segment really, because you have to decide what to buy. But coming back to how it's going to affect Royal Enfield, I have a slightly different take. Yes, Royal Enfield is going to be affected, but not so much. There's a sizable number of Royal Enfield fans, the people who owe allegiance to the Royal Enfield brand like the way it is in India, particularly over the years. And that long stroke, lazy thump, low end torque, the thump and the feel and the way that bike looks, particularly the Classic 350 or the Bullet 350. Neither the Harley X440 nor the Triumph Speed 400 are a replacement to that whole aura of that Royal Enfield shape and the engine sound and the exhaust note and the way it rides. It's a very lazy kind of, there are a lot of fans, really, a solid fan following for the Royal Enfield brand, and particularly the 350cc segment in the Classic and the Bullet models, of course. So Royal Enfield will be affected and will need to set up and take notice, but it won't really massively affect Royal Enfield sales, is what I think. Yes, some amount of margin.
No, of course, and also you could say that the target audience for the Classic 350 is very different from what the target audience of, say, the X440 or the Triumph Speed 400 will be.
Correct.
Having said that, if it's my personal opinion, if I were in the market for a motorcycle in the same segment and I had a budget of, say, maximum 2.5 lakh rupees, I will definitely sit up and take notice of what the Speed 400 has to offer vis-a-vis what the classic 350 offers.
Okay, one more thing I have to, hypothetically speaking, one more thing I have to bring to the table now is that two models on the 398cc platform that Triumph has introduced, the made in India models, is the Speed 400, which is the more modern classic roadster like a Speed 900 or a Speed 1200.
Sure.
It's that kind of a style, and a Scrambler, which is like a more off-road or dual sport kind of a leisure dual sport kind of a model, not a hardcore off-road enduro bike, but yeah, it's a Scrambler. You can have fun with it. But that leaves the whole. It's a platform at the end of it, right?
Yes, yes.
And it's an open secret. There will be more models coming out of that platform. So, what do you think will be the next model from that platform? Again, if Triumph is working on that.
I'm sure Triumph is working on more models from the same platform, and there are rumors of a Thruxton 400 coming. And if that happens, wow, it's going to just like change the game and blow the whole space wide open once again.
Well, yes, the logical thing is a Thruxton 400, a cafe racer based on the 400cc platform, but I'll put my money on a chrome-laden Bonneville 400. That will be the ideal competitor for the classic 350.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, if Triumph pulls that off, then
all this is again speculation. We're just talking about this. We don't have any hardcore, like nobody's told us about this, and Triumph is very tight-lipped about future models. So what we have are those two models, but it's a new platform. There will be more models, a Thruxton 400, possibly, and possibly even a Bonneville 400 with a lot of chrome, a lot of nice finishes, very a real true blue modern classic. That will be something to look out for.
Oh yes, absolutely. Then Royal Enfield will have to set up and take notice of what Triumph is up to. Yes.
So now let's talk about the bikes. You've ridden the HDX for 40 years. So how was it? What does it feel like?
I'll be honest, my expectations from the motorcycle were bang in the middle. I mean, I wasn't expecting the world out of it, and I wasn't expecting to be really bad either, because after all, it is a Harley motorcycle engineered and developed with support from Hero MotoCorp. And like I said in my review, I mean, when the brand and legacy of Harley-Davidson combines with the manufacturing and R&D prowess of Hero MotoCorp, the result is bound to be really good, and that's what the motorcycle is. I mean, the highlight for me was the way the motorcycle rode. I mean, the torque, the rush of torque at the bottom end and at the mid-range was something to write home about, and the way it handled. I mean, Preetham, you should have been there. The handling test track at CIT, it's quite technical.
Yeah.
And it was a breeze, flicking the X440 from one side to the other. And you will have shots of this running all over the video. It was, I mean, we scraped the feeler bolts like anything, and by the time our session was done, the feeler bolts were completely done and destroyed. And coming on to the torque, 90% of the torque, Harley-Davidson X440 has the highest torque, and the maximum torque, 90% of the torque comes in at 2000 RPM. I mean, imagine the kind of wave of torque that you get right from the word go. Fantastic. So yeah, very impressed by the motorcycle. There are a few vibes in the mid-range and at the top end, but it's a single cylinder engine, and that's not a deal breaker for sure. What could have been better though is the design of the rear section. I found it to be a little unfinished. It could have been better. It could have been more integrated with the front end design, which is really nice, and the quality of parts. I mean, for example, the heel plate is made of plastic and it bends. So that is something that you wouldn't expect from a 2.5-3 lakh rupees motorcycle.
Right.
For example, even the RTR 160 4V has a metal heel plate.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Actually, I was going to ask you that. What do you think of the design? Because for me, buying a motorcycle, or the first thing that even before starting it up is the way the motorcycle looks to me.
Absolutely.
I mean, looks are subjective, of course. What looks good to me may not look too good to you.
Right.
Or vice versa. It's subjective. What's beautiful for you may not be beautiful for me. What's beautiful for me may not be beautiful. You may like a certain kind of motorcycle. I may not like that kind of motorcycle in terms of looks. So I haven't seen the motorcycle in flesh and blood or steel and metal as yet. I have still to get to see it. I'm really looking forward to riding the bike, but From what I see in the pictures and the videos, it's not a design that instantly grows on me. It's,
Right.
in my opinion, the design could have been better, could have made it more appealing. Harley could have made it more appealing. The frame, the trellis frame, right?
Right.
It just goes down like this. The rear subframe comes in like this and it's
Yes.
pointed V. That is not something which I am a fan of. And of course, there's one more tube which runs across the engine, across the head,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
covering the engine. I mean, I'm sure the engineers have something for structural rigidity, stability and all that, but you know, aesthetically, I think the X440 could have been a lot better to make those people just look at it and wow. And even before riding the bike, you know, not too many people
Right.
go take a test ride and then decide which bikes to ride. I mean, that used to be the scene earlier, but a lot of people do take a test ride, but that bike has to entice you to go and ride it in the first place, in my opinion. And to me, that Harley-Davidson X440's biggest drawback is that it just doesn't entice me to come close to it and ride it. Half the battle is won if you look solid and if you look attractive and get the customer to come towards you and, oh, this is the bike I want to ride. In my book, the Harley-Davidson X440 in the looks department is not enticing enough, and that's a bit of a weakness, I think, for the X440.
Sure. I mean, like you said, I mean, it sort of grows on you the more time you spend with it. Maybe you start liking it. But yes, definitely the looks could have been better when it comes to the Harley-Davidson X440. And talking about the kit on the motorcycle, quite a bit of it, dual channel ABS is standard, 43mm upside down fork up front, dual shock absorbers at the rear, and the instrumentation console, it's a 3.5-inch LCD housed in a circular pod. Looks quite nice and premium. The switchgear feels nice and premium. The material is really nice. But like I said, I mean, the plastic part between the headlight and the instrument console, then the heel plate near your foot pegs, things like these, they could have been made better. And the rear section, it definitely needs some work because I'm not a big fan of how the motorcycle looks, especially from the rear 3/4 angle. It could have looked better. I mean, there I'll agree with you.
Yeah.
But for the price that it commands and the performance and the kit that it has on offer, I mean, it is something that you won't go wrong if you put your money down on it. But again, like Preetham said, the best thing to do would be to take a test drive. And if you're convinced, if you're satisfied, yes, you put your money down on that motorcycle and you won't go wrong for sure.
But the main problem though for the Harley-Davidson X440 now is like back-to-back launches is the Speed 400. I mean, it's on paper, it's less expensive than the Harley-Davidson X440, right?
Yes.
And wow, it looks so gorgeous. I mean, the moment you see it, you fall in love with it. I mean, I don't know about you, but
No, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Both the Scrambler 400X and the Speed 400, I mean, the moment you look at the motorcycle, it is evident that the bike is well designed. The proportions are nice. It's well finished. Looking at the pictures, of course, Preetham has ridden the motorcycle. The fit and finish, the quality is there for you to see. And that's the hallmark of a good product, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, if you look at the whole modern classic segment, you have the British brands like Triumph, then you have Norton, which is now owned by TVS.
Right.
BSA, which has again been revived by India's classic legends, the makers of Java and ESD. And on the other end, you have Royal Enfield soldiering on. Now, if you look at a modern classic, it's got a classic silhouette and design, but completely modern engineering and technology. Now, one brand in my book which has completely mastered the whole modern classic genre is Triumph.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at it over the past maybe a decade or 2 decades, from air-cooled Bonneville's to liquid-cooled with ride-by-wire technology, traction control system, all the bells and whistles that you can associate with any modern motorcycle. You look at the bike, very nicely done engine fins, machine fins, made to look like, although they're liquid-cooled engines, they're made to look like, old air-cooled engines. So Triumph has really nailed the modern classic to the T. In my book, if there's a master of the modern classic genre, it has to be Triumph motorcycles. And that's the case with the Speed 400. And this is what I have said in my review also.
Right.
They have completely nailed that modern classic look with the Speed 400. You look at it, it's a baby Speed 400, but it doesn't look any less than any of the bigger Triumph models in the lineup. It looks the same attention to detail, same finish level, same quality, brushed aluminum finish on the headlight stays, the throttle body covers, everything, that heel is brushed aluminum finish there.
Exactly.
Beautiful piece of motorcycle, beautiful piece of engineering and attention to detail, fit and finish. It's hard to find fault with that motorcycle aesthetically. And once I got to ride it, of course, Bajaj is a test track at Chakan at the plant, and we weren't allowed to photograph there or shoot there because the folks from Triumph said, it's a modern classic roadster, it's not meant to be ridden on a track. We couldn't shoot there. We were given 4 laps to ride to get a sense of how the bike handles, how the bike performs in a safe and controlled environment. After the first lap, half a lap gone, then my jaw dropped even further. Like, what have they made? On the back straight, I weigh 75 kgs. With a lighter rider, probably it could. Folks at Bajaj said, the claimed top speed is 145 kilometers per hour. 0 to 100 in 7 seconds. Of course, we didn't have any equipment to test all that. On the back straight, on the first lap, I clocked 161 on the speedo before it was time to brake. Some people had claimed lighter riders had claimed they saw 170, 171 speedo indicated. Of course, there'll be a slight speedo error, but that's the kind of top speed it gets to. And engine and the way it flicks, oh my goodness, it feels like a sports bike. It looks like a modern classic, but flick it around left, right, it's well balanced, it's planted, and it's not like the KTM. You've ridden the KTM, of course. The KTM, you go back, you go hard and then you throw it. This one is steady, you're always in control. Triumph has totally hit it out of the park with this bike. Yes, it's a single, and it's a counterbalance engine. There's a balancer shaft and to reduce the vibrations of the engine, and there's no cradle, so the engine is not mounted in a double cradle frame. So it's a down tube frame, but the engine is a stress member of the frame. It acts as a frame. So they wouldn't have had any vibrations because the whole bike would have shaken otherwise. So to reduce the vibrations, there's a single balancer shaft. We'll talk about it more in detail. We'll do an article on that. Bottom line is the vibrations are minimal. Yes, it's a single. There will be some minor buzz. There is some buzz from mid-range, 5,000 RPM onwards, maybe 6,000 RPM to about 8,000, which is the red line, towards the red line. But it's not something which will bother you. It's not bothersome. And the best part is the torque spread. Again, you talked about the Harley-Davidson. I have yet to ride it. Yes, 90% of the torque comes at 2,000 RPM. Here, 80% of the torque comes at 3,000 and goes right up to 8,000 RPM. So 3,000 to 8,000 RPM, you have 80% of the torque. That's 30 Newton meters of torque to play with. So you open the throttle and the bike pulls. And so there's enough and more performance from this baby. I am totally sold on this bike. Come on, man. What a bike it's been made.
Wow, hearing Preetham talk about the Speed 400, now I'm like, maybe we should have switched bikes and I should have gone for the Speed 400 ride, and Preetham should have enjoyed the Harley-Davidson X 440.
Plus, it gets switchable traction control. So if you're riding on a wet road like we did, we rode it in the rain, so you get the added safety kit of ride-by-wire throttle with traction control system, which you can switch off for the adventurous ones, like if you want to pull a wheelie or something. Not advisable, but yes, it's got traction control. The brakes work well, dual channel ABS standard.
But apart from that, if you compare the specifications, there's a stark difference there. The Speed 400, it has a curb weight of 176 kg, while the X440, it has a curb weight of 190.5 kilograms.
It's a good 14 kg difference.
Yes, absolutely. There's a significant difference there. Plus, the Speed 400 makes around 39.5 brake horsepower, while the X440 makes around 27 to 28 bhp. So again, significant difference there. But the X440 has the highest torque output in the segment at around 38 to 39 Newton meters. But the Speed 400 is just like half a Newton meter behind. So in terms of specifications, of course, the Speed 400 takes it, and I think in terms of fit and finish as well.
Yep.
Of course, proper comparison is coming your way very, very soon with the X440 and the Speed 400, and this time we'll be, switching the motorcycles. Yes. So, Preetham, talking about both motorcycles, we discussed the performance. Any drawbacks on the Speed 400? I mean, there has to be something.
The Speed 400 as a product, it's hard, it's difficult to find fault with that motorcycle, and although we haven't done any comparisons, but I feel it's set a new benchmark in that segment for sure. Every other competing brand needs to set up, take notice, go back to the drawing board, come up with better products. It's all good news for the Indian motorcyclists, but
100%.
yes, the Speed 400 has definitely set a new benchmark. The only challenges I see is the Triumph network right now is about 15 odd dealerships across India, and going by how the bookings are coming, everybody, and we're getting a lot of queries on our social media channels also, like I stay in so and so town, how can I buy this, how can I book this, how will I get this?
I think every every second DM on our Instagram is with regards to the Triumph Speed 400.
Instagram, YouTube, all across we're getting about how is it available, how can I buy it in my town, in my city. Don't worry, because Bajaj is taken over the sales and marketing of Triumph some time back, and the plan is to have 100 new dealerships by the end of this fiscal year. And according to some sources, in the first phase there will be 40, in the next phase there will be 60 more. So by March 2024 there will be 100 new dealerships of Triumph. They will have the 400s, they will also have the premium bikes. So the Triumph is looking at a massive expansion across India, so these bikes will be available. So at the moment, that is the only challenge I see, because you won't get to see too many of those bikes across India. But this is something, a little help from Bajaj really can't sort it out. Bajaj is behind Triumph now, so Bajaj will go all out to make Triumph available across India. So this is something I don't see any problems or any challenges going forward. It's only a matter of time when Triumphs are available everywhere, especially the Speed 400. So Kingshuk, bottom line, what's your take on the on both the Harley and the in one line? Would you buy either of those?
I mean, I really have to ride both motorcycles back to back, but like I said earlier, I mean, if you put your money on the Harley-Davidson X440, you won't go wrong. But if you're looking for something even better, right now, that seems to be the case with the Triumph Speed 400. And I mean, these are exciting times, such exciting times to be a motorcycle enthusiast in India. The price wars have begun in the right earnest, and these partnerships, TVS, BMW, Hero, Harley, Bajaj, Triumph, I mean, this is where the growth happens. This is where you get quality products. TVS started it all with the TVS BMW partnership. Then you have these two partnerships coming up, and excellent pricing, excellent value for money. I'm really excited to see what comes next.
So let's talk about the Triumphs. Speed 400, Scrambler 400X. Would you put your money down on any of those?
I think if I have to put my money down on either of them, it will be the Scrambler 400X, because I like to ride off-road more. Yes.
They're tempting enough for you to think about putting your money down without even...
100%, yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's an interesting thought.
I mean, the whole thing, like I said earlier, it's so difficult to wrap your head around this. Great time to be a two-wheeler enthusiast in India, and yeah, I mean, you let us know in the comments below whether you liked this content or not. What do you think of the Speed 400 and the Harley-Davidson X440? Which one will be your pick and why? Keep this discussion going in the comments below. Share this video with your friends, with your families, and anybody who's about to buy a motorcycle, right? And that's it from now.
Yes, on that note, we're talking about the Harley, we're talking about the Triumph Speed 400, we talked about the Royal Enfield 350, but there's one small thing that's coming up who everybody seems to have forgotten about it. Kingshuk hasn't mentioned it maybe once, and that is the Himalayan 450. That bike could make all the difference for Royal Enfield in the coming years, for the adventure, the touring crowd and all that. Maybe they would prefer it over the Scrambler 400. We'll of course be riding it soon when it launches in a couple of months from now. But that's something we'll also be looking forward to. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think about it. What do you think about the Speed 400 like Kingshuk said, what do you think about the Harley-Davidson X440, What do you think Royal Enfield's strategy is, and what are your expectations from the Himalayan 450? Thank you for watching. Do leave us a comment and do like and share amongst your friends if you like this podcast. Thank you so much.